Welcome to the Audiobook Lovin Series, a month-long event celebrating the authors and narrators that bring romance stories to life. Listen along as Viviana, Enchantress of Books, interviews your favorite writers and voices, share special guest posts, and stay tuned for some special information at the conclusion of the episode.
Hi everyone, today I have the pleasure of chatting with returning guest, author Amy Daws. Welcome back, Amy. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks for having me back. That means I must not have screwed up too bad last time.
No, absolutely not. I loved our chat last year. We got to learn a lot about your process and, the book covers, how you select them, and the audiobooks as well. So we're going to include the links to that interview for those that did not get a chance to listen to it within the post. And so today we're just catching up because it's been technically a year since we've all connected, and a lot has happened in that year with audiobooks, especially for you. So what has been going on in your world lately with audiobooks?
I keep cranking them out. I mean, I never can seem to manage to get an audiobook to release at the same time as my ebook. I'm not that organized, and but it's been okay, honestly. Not my most recent release, but the release before that was Blindsided, and that's kind of a spinoff of my Harris Brothers series. That audiobook was like 10 weeks delayed, and I felt terrible about that. And I thought readers were going to be over it and not care about it anymore. But honestly, they're very patient. And I mean, they ask a lot, but like when it comes, they're still there. They're ready. They're waiting. And that's awesome. The audio listeners are ravenous, and I love them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from a listener perspective, we see that the ebooks are always available first. And I think part of it is too, they don't understand what the process is, where you just upload the ebook and it's almost like approved, and it may take the system a couple of days or hours sometimes to sink into it and, show it up. Whereas the audiobook, there's more ticks and tacks that need to be, checked off from their side. And that's why it takes much longer for things to get processed. So even if you are a planner, things happen. And
a lot of it goes down to your narrator schedules too. I think by the time I realized when I was going to be done with my book, I'm unique in the sense that I don't really write to a deadline. I kind of like to keep my release date quiet until I'm almost done with the book, because then there's no pressure, because the last thing I ever want to do is, have all this pressure and be rushing a book that's not ready, just because I already set my release date. So I usually wait, which makes scheduling with narrators ahead of time really difficult. So usually I'm finishing the book and then I'm checking with narrators, are you available? And sometimes they're not. And for me, I'm willing to wait until they are available rather than recast for somebody that is available, because I want my first choice narrators, even at the expense of a delayed audio release.
Oh, yeah. And the listeners do appreciate that. I know that when we get used to, especially if it's a series or if it's a group of books that are technically standalone, but within the same world building, we love our narrators. And so having to have that consistency does help. So that is definitely something that I do appreciate when the authors are willing to wait. Yes. Especially when the narrators that you guys get are the really, works totally for what your book is about.
Yes. And I mean, Will Watt narrated Blindsided for me, and he did a Scottish accent, and he just nailed it.
He nailed it. I loved it. He nailed it
so much. He's got this great James McAvoy, like Scottish tone. And I loved him, and I loved Charlotte. And she had kind of a little Cornish West Country accent, from England. And they did so good. So, I mean, while the delay was long, it was totally worth the wait.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And there's the other thing too, that we have other audiobooks that we can listen while we wait to yours.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. But in reference to Blindsided, that was actually one of my favorites within that whole Harris Brothers series. I mean, they all have favorites in for different reasons. Yeah. But the characters were just so lively, and you kind of could see yourself being friends with the heroines, and you can kind of hang out with the hero, or you're just doing whatever. They were just really cool characters. Yes. How did you develop them? Because I know they're side characters in your main series, but what made you go like, oh, they need their story?
Yeah, I mean, they are super dynamic. So, Mac, the hero, is Scottish and redhead and tatted, and this, he just jumps off the page. And then Freya, she's also redheaded, freckled, real curvy, super quirky. And so like both of them together, it was just like, fireworks, because they're both very strong personalities.
Mm-hmm.
And, I remember when I made Mac a secondary character in Payback, he was like a teammate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, to write a Scottish character as a secondary is super easy, because you just got to get through a few scenes with them. They're not the whole book. So, but when readers kept saying how much they wanted a Mac story, I was like, oh, I got to set it up. I got to do it. I pretty much put myself in this situation, and, I researched a lot to get the Scottish, slang and lingo down appropriately. But, I don't know, I guess. And Freya, she was a secondary as well. And it's always easy to write the cute plus size best friend who like makes all the jokes in the scene and is that moment of lightness. And I guess, all my secondaries end up getting books. I just can't not give them strong, unique personalities that you want to see a happily ever after for, So yeah, it was really fun. They are definitely two of my most memorable characters for sure.
Yeah, I know I could relate a lot on the curvy side for Freya, and the way that, no, I can't wear that, or no, I can't possibly do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just very refreshing to kind of see like, I'm not the only one that thinks that. And B, you had a scene in there that I'm going to, and I can't remember the exact phrasing, but it was when all the ladies were having a drink and they were talking about their insecurities and that voice inside. And they started, what was the phrase that they all said?
Lying cunt.
Yes, that one. It was like, it was just, I was like, oh my God, that is exactly what that is. That inner voice that says, no, you can't do this. No, you're not able to do it. No, you're too big for that. It won't look good. And to hear, no, lying cunt, I'm like, oh yeah.
I know. I loved that scene. I remember when I wrote that. So it's, all these women, they're kind of having a hen party, and I'm just kind of explaining it for anybody that hasn't read the book. It's kind of this like moment where all these women revealed these vulnerable truths that they hear in their heads, and it was just so fun and empowering to have each woman tell the other one, that voice is a lying cunt and you shouldn't listen to her, and it's so cool because it's such an ensemble cast at this point. It's all the women from my whole Harris Brothers series. And they've all come together. Every book, they come together and they just grow closer and closer. So for each of these beautiful bombshell women that have had these great epic love stories already told, to just, have these, these admissions about their voices in their head that aren't necessarily positive. It's cool. It's, everybody, no matter what you look like or anything, you have that lying cunt voice in your head that tells you a lie, that tells you you're not good enough for something, and you are. And it was a great scene to have all the women kind of empower each other.
Yeah, and I think also too is because we tend to think that if they are what we think is well put together, like they have the good life, like they're not stressing, and look, they have kids and they have a career, and they don't seem to be struggling at all, and they're a size 2, and they're gorgeous, and then we all have our own insecurities. So for them to have voiced it, I think it's very brave.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really fun. I remember writing that, and I was kind of nervous that I was going too over the top. Sometimes I can picture things and it flowed so quickly. And I remember I was anxious for my PA, who kind of reads as I write, to just kind of have someone to bounce stuff off of. I remember I was ready for her to read it because I was like, did I go too far? Is this too much? Like too over the top, too cheesy? And she's like, do not change a word. I love it. It's like everything I think about myself, and I relate to it. And so I was like, oh, good. I hit the right note. So yeah, that was a fun scene.
It was very fun. You mentioned about how all the characters kind of get together. One of the reasons why I think we fall in love with these side characters is because we keep seeing them over and over again. And you did a phenomenal job in that series of giving us an update here and there of what those, the Harrisburgs are up to, where the kids are at, and, as part of the inner weaving of the main arc for that individual couple.
Yes.
How do you keep track of all that?
Oh my gosh. That is literally the hardest part of writing Harris World books now, because there's the Harris Brothers are 5 books, then the sister has a book, and now I've got 2 secondaries that have books. And everybody wants updates on every book of the Harris family. So, oh my gosh, when they're all together, it's a nightmare. And luckily I do have good editors where once in a while they'll be editing one of my dinner scenes and they'll be like, hey, we never heard from Booker and Poppy in this whole scene. And that's the thing about ensemble cast and stuff. You got to have everybody needs to be heard from in a scene, or why are they there? So it's just so funny to have to incorporate all of them all the time. It's not easy, but I love it too. Like I remember when I was struggling writing one time with a different book, and I sat down and I instead wrote a Harris family dinner, and it just felt like breathing. It's like I can hear everybody's voices so clearly. They've all become so real to me. So it's hard, but it's worth it because those scenes are just, I can picture them and I love it.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it makes it easier to write too, because these are, the Harris brothers are unique. They have very interesting dynamics with each other. There's a twin set and they have older and younger dynamics, the middle kid, but they're also all very strong personalities.
Yes.
When I hear the authors say stuff like, oh yeah, they were talking in my head, I can imagine them trying to get your attention.
Yeah, they do. They really do. And it's crazy how their voices have stayed consistent with me through every single book I've written. Like, I don't know. To me, I would have thought I'd have had to remind myself what Tanner sounds like or what Camden sounds like, but I don't. I literally have their voices as a part of my brain now. And I don't know. It's crazy and it was accidental and I don't even know how to replicate it.
Well, I know that it's the really good stories tend to be when it's authentic and it just kind of flows versus you having to push it and force it. So that's really. And I know that when we last talked, you were in the process of, I think, either casting or you had just cast Payback, which is and it was also a multicast for you too.
Yes, multicast. That was exciting. I got 4 narrators on that one. Will Watt and Charlotte Cole came in and did all my Harris brother voices like usual. But then, my hero in Payback was a South African. And I just thought I really wanted somebody different for that voice. And so I cast Aaron Shedlock. And then Aaron Mallon came in and did my heroine. So it was great. It was fun. The reviews on that audiobook are incredible.
Yeah, I'm not used to hearing like a South African, but it's been coming up more, and also in the conversations when I ask the narrators of all the difficult, of all the accents that they do, which is the most difficult, South African tends to be one of them.
Yeah, yep, it is. Not all of them will even try it either. So I was lucky Aaron was game.
Mm-hmm. Is that something that you consider when it comes down to writing your stories in, the world that you've created? Is at the end of the day, you have to cast for your audiobook.
Yeah.
Is that something that you look into taking into consideration as far as where these characters are from? Or is it just one of those, like, that's what they're telling you they're from and that's it?
Yeah, pretty much. That's what they're telling me. Because honestly, I didn't even think about having to cast this. Well, I had made my South African character a secondary. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I ever planned to write his book for sure. I just thought it would be interesting as a secondary, but then eventually I need to realize every secondary is going to get a book. So no, I think it's more, I let the story and the characters be whatever they're going to be. And I can figure out the audiobook. Like there's mm-hmm. no audiobook situation I can't figure out, Mm-hmm. It might take some digging and some, more auditions or something, or talking to people to find the right voice. But I think there's enough talented narrators out there that there's a voice for everybody.
Yeah, that's true. And if not, I know that there's a lot of them that are willing to learn. So.
Yes, exactly.
That's good. So yeah, I was excited because when we were talking about it, that's when you were sharing all the info, and then it finally came out, and I was like, oh wow, because it was the first multicast that I've heard of yours. Usually mm-hmm. you do dual or duet style depending on the book. So that was definitely something. Did you go through anything from a process from a hiring perspective, or the writing itself being a multicast versus your traditional style of writing?
Nope. I mean, my books writing wise are always a little heavy on dialogue and banter. That's just how I naturally write, which lends itself really well to audio. And Will Watt has done some multicast and duet productions. So he was kind of the producer of the project. Mm-hmm. And I knew he would be able to kind of guide the ship, technically, and get everybody where they needed to be. And the quality of their sound where it needed to be. So, I mean, really, it was all Will. He was a huge help.
Yeah. That's always good to have someone that can guide that process.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And I know that recently you had the release of One Moment, Please.
Yes.
Prize Pregnancy standalone.
I know. So this is in my Wait With Me world, which is so different. And those audiobooks are always dual. I did that because I'd only done duet when I first started writing Harris Brothers. And I wanted to kind of expand my audience because duet isn't for everybody. Some people prefer dual or single. So I thought, I'll cast the Wait With Me books as dual, and those are set in America. So I got like Aaron Mallon and Teddy Hamilton on board for all of those books. And they did a fabulous job with One Moment, Please. It's, Teddy especially surprised me because Dr. Dick is his nickname. His name is Dr. Josh Richardson in the book, but he's such an asshole. We call him Dr. Dick. And so I love Teddy's voice, but he has the best friend voice or the guy next door voice, the sweet guy, laid back, chill. But I was like, I want to keep the narrators consistent in the series. And I knew he'd do a great job with Dr. Dick, but I didn't realize it would be my favorite performance. I was so impressed with his voice and how he interpreted Dr. Dick and gave him this harshness, but also this vulnerability. And he really moved me. And Aaron Mallon, I mean, that Wait With Me world is such a rom-com world, and it's so light and fun and, youthful, but edgy. And Erin, that's just her sweet spot. Like, she could read those books all the time. And I think with very little effort. I mean, I'm sure she puts a lot of effort into it, but it sounds effortless. And I love her as all my heroines in that series.
Yeah, I like that world as far as the characters they're very fun, and the banter that they have with each other as the friends and or their significant others.
Yeah,
it's really fun. Did you get to go to a lot of the tires to write these stories still, or is that?
I did. I haven't been there lately because of the social distancing. I've been kind of staying at home, but yeah, I've written tons of those scenes at Tires. I still go in there to write all the time when the world's not having pandemics and stuff. No, but I love Tires and writing there. And just to think that, that whole series was inspired by me sneaking into that tire shop to write is just so cool. And now they're going to make a movie out of it. Passionflix optioned it for film. So that's insane to even imagine. I just still can't even picture it. So I need it to happen so that I can have this image be a reality.
Yeah. So that's something I was going to bring up, was that Passionflix has picked up. Is it just the one book, or they're picking up more or less the whole series, depending on how?
So far, my contract is only for Wait With Me, the tire shop one, the first one. So I will say, though, the readers in the Passionflix world, the founding members of the Passionflix group are loving the series. So I would love it if they pick them all up. I think it would be awesome, but we'll see. I think there's, it's tricky for them to cast multiple books, because then now whoever they cast as the secondaries in the first movie need to be available to be the stars of the second movie. So it makes casting trickier, because then if you have to recast, I think, viewers are a little disappointed. So there's a lot that goes into film, a lot that I don't even know yet, so we barely just scratched the surface of the whole thing.
Yeah. No, I know it happens with the narrators, where if they get switched for somebody new, we get a little shocked, and some of us are not happy.
Exactly.
I'm okay with the changing of things up if they're different couples. Not if there's the same couple that has a bigger arc, so it goes over different books or spans over different books. If they're different couples, I'm okay. But so for this Passionflix deal, have they told you or shared with you how involved you're going to be able to be, or?
Not a whole lot. I mean, I kind of signed the contract, and then the world decided to implode. So I think they're sort of dealing with, being on hold with their productions that are currently filming. They did say that what they'll do is usually they write the screenplay and they write it way too long, and they ask me to go in and shorten it. So they say it's easier for me to cut than them. So I was like, oh, okay, I kind of get that. So I think I'll be somewhat involved in the screenplay, but how much I don't know yet. I'm not putting any pressure on them at this point because
Of
they're
course,
going through a lot with their schedules.
No, for sure. I know that I'm a founding member of the Passion Flicks because the idea of having the books that we love
Yes.
on the TV is fantastic.
I know, right?
And yeah, no, it's great. And they've done a really good job with portraying because you know how it is. We listen to or buy or read the book, and then we see the movie and like the book was better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's always going to be the truth at the end of the day. But they have done such a phenomenal job with trying to be as authentic to the book as possible.
I know.
That yeah, so I'm excited to see how Wait With Me comes out.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
So another thing that you did recently that was with Erin Mallon involved was her play called
yes.
If These Walls Could Talk.
Yes. Oh my God. So fun.
Yeah. So why don't you tell the audience what all this is about, and I can go in there and jump into if I need to.
Yeah. Well, obviously Erin Mallon is an amazing narrator, and many people don't know that she's also a very talented playwriter. She wrote this hilarious play called If These Walls Could Talk, and it's kind of a love story to audio romance world. And so it's this great play that's about, a married couple who are kind of having some fatigue in their marriage, and the wife listens to steamy audiobooks. And so she's more into these audiobooks than she is her own husband. And, they need to spice up their love life a little bit. And then you kind of switch scenes and you actually see the creation of these audiobooks the woman's listening to. And so you get a little bit of a glimpse of behind the scenes recording world, and then it's just this great, hilarious play. Like when I read it, I laughed so hard. But anyways, Erin contacted me out of the blue and was like, hey, I wrote this play about audiobooks. It's a comedy, and there's a character in here who's an author, a romance author. And I thought it would be really fun to cast an actual author to play this role. Would you be interested? And I was like, yes. She's like, cool. I want to do a Zoom recording of us sort of just reading the play and kind of acting as we read it. And post it for the audio lovers in oral fixation Facebook group. And I was like, I am so in. This sounds so much fun. And my love interest was the engineer, the sound engineer, and it was Teddy Hamilton. So we had such a blast. Oh my God, they are all so talented. It's not just their voices that's talented. They are like true actors. And I was just so excited to be a small part of it.
Yeah, your character's name was Georgia, who was a romance author that actually doesn't believe that people can actually be in love.
Yes, right.
Yeah, because go ahead.
No, yeah, she was an interesting character, very like amazing, incredible fictional romance author, but she doesn't believe that kind of love happens in real life. So she's kind of hard-edged, but she's self-sustained. She's got everything she needs, but she still like wants a little action on the side with that engineer. And it was so fun.
Yeah. Well, it's I think one of the lines was when the husband, who's one of the main characters, is at a coffee shop, and the conversation between the husband and Georgia occurs, and that conversation comes up about the love, and he's like, but aren't you like a romance author? You write romance. And the line was something like, yeah, that's right. I mean, I write fiction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Which is very true. I mean, there's a lot of authors that write these great sweeping love stories, but our real lives are not nearly that exciting. It's just a little, this is why we love romance though. It's the escape, it's the fantasy, it's the what if, or it kind of makes you want to try more in your own life. So yeah, I mean, it was an interesting character, and it made a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. Was that your first time performing that way as far as acting?
Yeah. I mean, I acted in high school. I was in musicals and plays in high school, but that was just for fun. Obviously it wasn't. And I was young, and I, was trying to be cool. So I'm sure I didn't even put forth all my effort. But yeah, so I guess I have a little experience, if you call high school theater experience. But yes. It was definitely, I felt like I was sitting amongst professionals though. Like they were legit performers, and I was just here to play.
It was fantastic from a audience perspective to see, we love the audiobooks, but we don't get to see them perform. So we don't even know unless they tell us that they have to sit very still because of the noises and all that fun stuff. But to kind of see how Shane talks with his hands and how Teddy gets really animated, and even Andy, who sounds like she's running around or she's laughing hysterically, she's still very professional and well kept in there. And I'm like, wow, it was so cool to see that from you guys. And
yes, I noticed that Andy is very self-contained.
Yes.
She really, I was like laughing my butt off the whole time. You could tell I was the giggliest. But it's just fun. It's fun to see everybody's personalities.
Mm-hmm. No, Teddy was laughing a lot too. So
yeah, he was.
Well, it was fun, and it literally was an ode, like a love letter to audiobooks. They were talking about the different tropes, and it's interesting how Erin weaved stuff together, because that couple, she listens to this author's books.
Yes.
And the she gets to meet the narrator. That's one of the hot players in the game, and it's just really interesting how all that worked out.
Yes,
and nowadays we kind of get to have these conversations with you guys.
Yes, definitely.
And hopefully more activities after this whole craziness stops.
Definitely.
Yeah. So what do you have coming up next?
Well, that's a good question. No, so I released the third book in the Wait With Me series. Loved it. Dr. Dick and Lindsay are doing great and everyone's loving them. And it seems like everybody always wants, I love to ask my readers what they want next. And everybody always wants the one before, like they want what they just read, the next book in that series. So I think I'm going to do Dean's story. He was a strong secondary in Wait With Me, Next in Line, and One Moment Please. So, but my thing is I only have very light ideas for Dean, which is kind of fun because I just need to sit back and brainstorm and see where his character takes me. Because, I just have very light ideas at this point. And, with One Moment Please, it was a surprise pregnancy book. And that really was a big trope to really guide the story along. And so with Dean, I'm a little bit more wide open. So I gotta see where he wants to take me.
So do you really just kind of like see what hits you as far as like a writing schedule, or do you have stuff like ideas, or like might be the next couple or might be the next hero?
Yeah, I mean, I try when I'm writing the books, I usually know that the secondaries are probably going to get a book. And I might like to tease a little something for what could happen in their book, but I don't like to do too much because I don't want to paint myself into a corner. I've done that before where I'm like, oh, I said this about them and now I actually have to write it and I don't want to write it, Mm-hmm. So I try not to say too much so that I still have lots of creative freedom when I'm inspired to write. But I don't do a lot of plotting. I usually just kind of have some ideas percolating in my head for them. And then I sit down and start talking it out, usually with my assistant or one of my brainstorm buddies, Jen. And, we kind of go from there. And I really like to write around tropes because, I don't know, something about tropes makes the story so much easier to follow and clear. And, you can latch on to the idea because it seems like when there's not a trope, it feels like a little bit of like swimming in the dark and, you don't know like where it's going to go, which is exciting in some ways. But in other ways, I really like to write to tropes. I just don't have a trope in mind for him yet. So once I do, that'll really kind of steer the direction of the story.
Yes. The Wait With Me, which is the first book, has the character that is an author similar to you and goes into a tire shop similar to you.
Yep. A lot of things that aren't similar to me, though, I'll tell you that.
Yes.
All that hot stuff that happened to her, I'm afraid that did not happen to me.
Yeah, but it to me, it's always funny to kind of like relate to things that are not the traditional. So she's the author in the first book, The Friends, and in 1 Minute Please, the heroine is friends with the author, and apparently it's one of the condoms that they use. And I'm not spoiling anything because I think that you used it for one of the graphic teasers.
Yeah, and it happened super early in the book, so I never call those spoilers.
Yeah. So the funny thing to me is that when it comes down to authors, we always think swag.
I know, I probably scared people. Yeah, so basically, like from Kate is the author in Wait With Me, And by the time Lindsay, her best friend Lindsay's story comes up in One Moment, Please, she wants to have sex with this hot doctor who she's kind of hates, but kind of wants to have sex with. And it's this like passionate, surprising night. And they can't find a condom, but then she remembers she has this old book swag condom of her author friend Kate's in her purse. So she digs it out, and she doesn't know how old it is or how long it's been in there, but they use it and it doesn't work, obviously, because it's a surprise pregnancy story. And so it's kind of funny. Now I think I made all these readers who have picked up book swag condoms from authors at signings, like look at these condoms and be like, oh, I better not use this, you know, but I don't think many of them are using them for protection. I think they're using them as a collector's item. At least I hope.
Yes, yes.
And I'm sure there's lots of very effective book swag condoms out there, but for the purpose of my romantic comedy, it was a faulty design.
Well, it's funny because for those that do go to these events and do get the swag, it's a pretty big, you know, net that you're casting out there of potential things you can get, from anything from the basic pens and, you know, magnets and bookmarkers to, you know, there's been some where there's been penises.
Yep.
And everything that you can think of, from chapsticks to lipsticks to even the narrators that went to the RT convention a few years ago, they did little individual pockets, and some of them had lube with their sticker. And it's just some of these things you're going, this is kind of cool from a collector's item, but I have a box of swag. So the idea of having to, oh my God, I need fill in the blank. I'm like, oh, I have it in my swag box. And I think it was one of those running, like a little bit of a running joke lately because of the world that we're living in, the hand sanitizers.
Yes.
That is actually an item that you guys have used in one moment or another as a swag. So people have been digging through their boxes. I am with you there that I probably would not use a condom though.
Yes.
But I don't know how old that was.
And the hand sanitizer, you better check the expiration date on that too, because you know,
for sure,
that also expires.
Mm-hmm. No, that's for real. Definitely makes you think about your swag a little differently, right?
Yes, it does. It does.
Your writing process, you know, for this series, when you shared, was about going to the tire store, and now with the world that we're living in, how has that shifted? I mean, your daughter's home all the time, and you guys have a new puppy.
Yes. Oh, I'm anxious about what the writing process is. I'm very, very lucky that when the coronavirus pandemic really hit, I had already finished One Moment Please, and it was in the editing process, which is usually not too painful for me. So I felt super lucky because this pandemic has really taken a hit on a lot of creative brains. You know, it's just so hard to want to sit down and like be creative and, you know, write this happy-go-lucky story when the state of the world is in such an uncertain place, you know? So I just felt so glad that I'd already finished that book. And, but you know, I also, now that I'm done with it and it's released, I think we're still social distancing. Now is the time for me to write another book because, you know, waiting won't get me anywhere. And like when the world opens back up and we all start going places again, then I won't want to be writing, you know? So I'm really going to try hard. But again, as you said, my daughter's home. She's 7, turning 8 on Wednesday.
Wow.
And my husband's now working from home. His office is in the bedroom. And we decided like we didn't have enough change happening in our lives. So we got a little puppy. And his name is Trip. And my daughter named him because he's always tripping us under our feet. He sneaks up with this little soft paws and we don't even hear him and we nearly collapse. And so it will be very interesting if I get this book written. I'm going to try because dang it, it'd be nice to have something else done before, you know, we can all kind of leave our homes and get out in the world again. So we'll see.
Yeah. Maybe the hero will have a puppy named Trip.
Yes. Maybe that's what I need. Just, you know, write real life and then it'll flow.
Yeah. Puppies are great. They can definitely be a great companion, but they're puppies. So it's like having another baby in the house.
Oh, it is. And you trick yourself and you forget. You pretend it wasn't that bad last time you did it. And then you get the dog and you're like, oh wait, it was this bad.
Yes.
Oh gosh, he's sweet though, and my daughter loves him.
Yeah, no, again, one of the things that we love about you is how you share yourself and your family with us as your readers and your listeners. And it was so cute, such a little fluffy ball. And it's so sweet to see your daughter with him, and she gets this look in her eyes when she's, looking at him. It's like,
Yes.
oh
my God. It is so sweet. She's constantly picking him up, constantly. The poor dog's not going to know how to walk. And she's got this new voice I'd never heard in her before, where she's just like, oh, Trip, I just got to pick you up. I can't help myself. You're just too cute. And it's like, I've never heard her really do like baby voice to an animal. So, oh my gosh, it's such a treat. It's such a new side to her. And we're loving it.
Yeah. But that thing about being picked up all the time, I will tell you that unfortunately that does happen. I had gotten a new puppy in September, and he was just so cute. And, you just had to pick him up and just walk all over the place with him. Yeah. And he would walk around and stuff, but heaven forbid I try to put him on a leash. God. It was a few minutes of walking, and then he's like, nope, I'm done. And I'm going, come on. And he's like, mm-mm.
I'm actually surprised he's doing well with the leash. I'm surprised with that. The kennel is still a little bit of an issue. We're crate training, and he'll go in there, but it's like 4 hours. Every 4 hours he needs to go out or get up, and it's tiring. We'd like him to sleep in a little more.
How old is he now?
Oh, what is he? 10 weeks now, I think.
Yeah, he'll sleep a little more in another 2 more weeks.
Okay, good. I'm ready. I'm ready.
It's that whining that right? You're
yes. And you got to get up because he's probably got to go potty, and then he doesn't have to necessarily go too bad. Now he wants up and he wants to play, and it's like no bedtime,
or he wants to hang out with you because he's lonely.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember, like I said, back in September, I made the mistake of getting a bigger crate.
Oh yeah, sure.
Because I wanted him to make sure that he had room, but he was having accidents in the crate, and I just didn't. Again, I've had dogs before, and it just didn't dawn on me. And we have been taking some classes for him and puppy training over at PetSmart, and so I asked the trainer. I'm like, listen, he goes and does things where he's supposed to when he's outside, but in the crate he's not holding it. And that's when they asked me, like, how big is it? And I'm like, well, it's pretty big. And they're like, well, that's the problem. Yeah. He's not going to have accidents in a place where he has to sleep.
Yes, so, I've heard. Yep, I was told that too, and I'm actually highly impressed. He's not had one accident in there.
That's awesome.
I know. It's now that I said that out loud, he's totally gonna pee.
Yeah, he's gonna be like, "What'd you say, Mom?"
I just jinxed myself. Why?
No, puppies are great. They're definitely they're fun.
Yeah.
I have 5, so I would know.
Yep. That's exactly true. Yes.
Yeah. And don't kid yourself. Just because you have one, it does the whole like, oh, want more? What would it, no big deal. No, yeah, it's a big deal.
Oh yeah. We are single dog owners. We had our last dog by himself forever, and that's plenty. I don't need another.
Yeah, no. Well, one of the things I'd like to do with my guest is play a little game.
Okay.
So we have a Would You Rather. So if you're good, we can get that started.
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. Would you rather always be 10 minutes late or 20 minutes early?
Probably late. I mean, it's not a matter of would I rather, but what's more likely? It's going to be late, I'm afraid.
At least we're honest.
Yep.
Would you rather be able to teleport anywhere or be able to read minds?
Teleport anywhere.
Would you rather never have to clean a bathroom ever again or have to do dishes again?
Oh, dishes. I really hate getting my hands wet. Oh, it's terrible.
You're actually, maybe of 15 people I've asked, I think you're the first one that says dishes.
Yeah. Well, it's would you rather never clean a bathroom again or never do dishes? Yeah, it's never do dishes. I could clean bathrooms. I hate washing dishes.
Cool. Would you rather be able to control fire or water?
Fire.
Would you rather have no taste buds or be colorblind?
Probably colorblind.
Would you rather be invisible or be fast?
Fast.
Would you rather always be hot or always be cold?
Hot. I have trouble staying warm as it is. So like, I'd rather always be hot for sure.
I always say I'd rather be cold because I can always put clothes on. I can't take clothes off.
That's true. That's true.
Last one. Would you rather have a personal chef or a personal masseuse?
Personal chef. I got my husband to be my masseuse, so
That's true.
I can make him rub my shoulders while the chef's cooking. I got everything then.
Let's see how you plan things out.
Yeah.
You were the I think it was you that was mentioning how your coworker, quote unquote, keeps taking all the coffee, right?
Yes. Oh,
has that situation with your coworker gotten any better?
My life is just a mess right now. No, I mean my husband. Yeah, it's so different. I used to know exactly how much coffee to make for myself every day, and it was quiet, and I could watch TV, and no one knew because they were all at work or at home. Now I don't get to watch any secret TV. My husband's drinking all the coffee. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. And we're kind of like a circus around here because I was doing this Zoom video chat meeting, and it was also a podcast, but with video. And the puppy broke loose from my daughter who was supposed to be watching him and keeping quiet. And I have French doors in my office. And somehow the dog had pushed them open and he was like nipping at my feet like crazy while I'm on video. And then next thing I know, I hear this like tapping on the tile floor, and I look backwards and my husband's on his hands and knees with the dog bone trying to get the puppy's attention to like come out of the office and to him. It's just, and my daughter's next to him, and we're just like such a mess. And it was so funny working from home with your whole family. Oh, it has its drawbacks, but it also has its moments of fun.
Yeah, it's definitely different. And I know that we kind of see that. Was it about a year ago, almost 2, I think, with that video of the father doing a news report and having the daughter just walk on in. And I'm like, well, and people were like, oh my God, how do you not tell your family? Now everybody's like, no, we understand.
Yep. Oh, it's so true. And how privileged are we that we can do this?
Yes.
I feel so lucky that my work is done from home already, and my husband was able to work from home. And, homeschooling our daughter is so much easier than the people who have tons of kids or multiple kids. And like, that's a lot of work. And I feel lucky and privileged,
Mm-hmm. Well, I know that we also appreciate you providing us with lots of things to listen to.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So one thing I did want to say, Amy, was thank you so much for your support and your loving, gentle push that you provided me with to do the podcast. I know that when we talked last year, you told me how you had such a great time and that was something that, I should consider. And I was like, I don't know. And you're like, girl, you got this.
Well, it was easy. You were one of my easiest interviews ever. It happened again today. You're truly a natural, and I hope it's been fun for you.
It's been a blast. It's a lot of work because I do all. It's amazing how the stuff behind the scenes you don't really realize.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been really fun, and I've gotten a chance to hang out with you guys a lot more often. And I've partnered up with Shane, who is fantastic, and it's all this fun stuff that I am very thankful and grateful that you took the time to tell me that this was a good idea.
It was all you, man. You're amazing. I'm happy for you.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for returning as my guest for this year's Audiobook Lovin.
Yes, thank you for having me again.
Thank you for joining us in the Audiobook Lovin Series, hosted by Viviana, Enchantress of Books. We hope you have enjoyed this episode, as well as the series. We've included audio samples of our guests' work within the post for you to check out. Please make sure to visit the main page, link within the post, to learn more about the series, the authors, and the narrators. Please consider leaving a review wherever you listen to the series if you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to follow us on our social media platforms and subscribe to the Viviana Enchantress of Books newsletter. Until next time, happy listening. Audiobook Lovin hopes you've enjoyed this program.